Today I would like to briefly introduce the best coding practice, that is the Zen or Python. As we know, Python is an excellent and efficient language for data science. Actually, both R and Python are excellent choices for data science. R is probably best for statistical analysis, whereas Python is quite comprehensive. It is super easy to learn and use, and it also have a whole ecosystem support with enriched open source libraries and packages for machine learning, natural language processing, and so on. Moreover, you can use Python to build end-to-end whole application and solution, including the software, front-end, back-end, and AI models in one-stop shopping style. That is brilliant. So let's just take a look at the Zen or Python, the best coding practice. Okay, so there are many mottos in the Zen or Python, such like the beautiful is better than ugly, explicit is better than implicit, simple is better than complex, and complex is better than complicated, and so on. So let's quickly working through each of them. Okay, you can just type this one line code, you can just print out the Zen or Python mottos. The first one, beautiful is better than ugly. So that is specified in the style guide for Python code, or this kind of reference resource. You can take a look. And there is some example. For example, in indentation style, here we just define some dummy function to illustrate such a concept. So as ugly, code style, the argument actually was put on the first line, which is not good idea, because it's not aligned, vertical aligned with the other parameters on the second lines. So for a beautiful coding style, you always, would like to actually align the opening delimiters together, such like this. Okay, that is the beautiful is than ugly. So overall, never mess up your code. They are so elegant and beautiful. Okay. So the second motto is explicit is better than implicit. And also you can refer to this reference resource. So first of all, just try to avoid the following names, so which is too broad, such like the my underscore list, or too verbose, such like list underscore or machine underscore learning underscore data underscore set, right? So also it is not a good idea to actually to make some too fuzzy names, such as like I, O, something like this. Also, the package module name should be all lowercase and use one word for the name is like a first choice. So if it's necessary to use, the multiple words, so you better using underscores to agree to separate them. And also variables, method, and functions should be lowercase, okay, and then separate with the underscore if needed. Also, the constant name must be all uppercase. If necessary, separate by underscores. Finally, the class name should also follow the uppercase camel case specification, which is in the wiki, documentations. So the names coming from this kind of camel, the shape, because the camel case is named after the hump or its protruding capital letter, similar to the hump of the common camels. Okay, so that is means like the first word is lowercase, and all the following words, the first letter should be capitalized. Okay, as like the class name. So all should be clear and easy to read. Okay. The another motto is simple is better than complex. So simple can be harder than complex. Actually, you have to work, be working harder to get your thinking clean and to make it simple. But it's worth it in the end, because once you get there, you can move mountains, which is actually the said by the Steve Jobs. Okay, so here is some like the samples of complex code. You can see here, the when you actually try to reverse, the whole string in Python, you can do some like recursion, the function call. But however, that is like a lot of like lines of code to this kind of job. In Python, actually, you can do it, and just in one line code if you are professional enough with Python, just using the slice notation like this thread. So you can see just a simple code, you just call this one line code and everything will be reversed. Okay, so basically such kind of the Python slice notation means that for giving the string, list, or tuple, or any like a collectible Python object, you can slice the set Python object using this kind of format. Okay, the object start index and colon stop index colon step. So if step is negative, okay, it does reverse slicing, okay, and start from the end towards the first, taking each element. So and you can see here, for the original string, if I just like change the step to 2, so then it can just like to give me like the ACE, okay. And then I also tried another example using a list of the integers, and then using the negative step of 3, okay, -3. Then you can just like reverse it, and you can also like to get you can get some like spacing between the slicing samples 9, 6, 3. Okay, here. Okay, so you can see that is very easy to using the Python slice notation. But however, this is just some like example to show the simple is better than complex. Okay. Okay, another example, the all simple is better than complex is, for example, you can use zip function to quickly create a dictionary. Here, we just want to create this like the subject and grace, and then you can just zip it and actually initialize some dictionary object. Then here we go. So you can, very quickly and easily with some like nice clean code to actually building the Python dictionary. Okay. The fourth motto is complex is better than complicated. So even if the program is complex, just try keeping it on the simpler side, which can be easily read and understood. And then, in order to actually to refreshing and sharpening your coding skills for programming optimization, you can always to check out some excellent the coding challenging websites, and you can probably get started with the HackRanker. You'll provide various levels of tasks suitable for the beginners, and then you can try the more professional ones such as like the Topcoder and CodeByte. Okay, flat is also better than nested. So coders like to create some submodules for each functionality. Let's say I build a module named spam and then add a submodule for one. I in turn add the base in it. Now accessing another subpackage from base will be like from this span.for.base import x, right? So that is quite nested. So we probably want to prefer some more flat structure of the data and also the coding, for this kind of thing. And the fourth motto is the sparse is better than dense. So sometimes we tend to record everything together. You might get the correct output, but what about the readability? Okay, so for example, this is a very crowded code, together. Try to print out like the how many digits for the bytes and how many possible values it can have, right? But of course, it is output is perfectly correct, but the coding style is a bit like mess. Okay, so the tips here, the same could be breaking down into the paths and to get the same result, and also we can try to spread out the code, which is the delight, and also the denser one often the confuse the co-workers. Okay, so also for another example, so consider using the sparse matrix, which store only like non-zero values, assuming like most of the values in the matrix are zeros. Okay, instead of the dense matrix as like the data structure, will give you the benefit of like memory efficiency, storage capacity, and computing time. The seventh motto is the readability counts. So it is said that the code is read more than written, right? So how much time you spend on writing your own code and how much time you spend on reading other people's code. I think that probably like consume much more time for you, right? So please, for the sake of the reader, so, starting writing the code that is readable and as is loved by our fellow programmers. So compare like following two code chunks. So here, the both code results are the same, but actually the last piece of the code provides the better readability by using the underscore placeholders and the f string. Here, after the release of Python 3.6, a while ago, the f string began to make formatting much easier and more powerful when dealing with longer sentences containing more variables. So the style of a coder could not should not actually create some barriers between his or her source and the reader's source, okay, and also the code reviewer's source. Also, another motto is special cases aren't special enough to break the rules. A programmer must adhere to the good the programming practice. Let's say you import a library, but it does not adhere to a good practice. It must help you in getting your task done, but keep in mind the library and language should always follow the best practice for consistency. Okay. Again, although the practicality beats the purity. So contradictory to the above, special cases aren't special enough to break the rules motto. This one suggests there might be an exception, okay, to the given set of the rules. The key word here is might. It reminds us to actually to trade off between them. Okay. So also, the 10th motto is errors should never pass silently. Okay. So when a function returns none, that is some time you are probably in the trap of some silent errors. It's better to get errors, but not silent ones. Okay, if you avoid such errors, it can lead to bugs and further to crash. So this is why using the try except statement become important in the code. Whenever you think something phishing can happen, you must add this combo, for the exception handling and error handling and capture all those, silent errors. Okay. Here is the demo code, and you can see this code is quite robust because this code actually may break. We already take it into consideration, and it may and I will check if there's some value error, and also handling errors other than the value errors also has been included. Also, we also execute it normally if no error is tricked. Sunny day scenario and rainy day scenario all covered, and also execute regardless of whether the error is triggered or not. So that is quite robust, the code sample, okay, to do. Another one is actually the unless explicitly silenced. Sometimes you probably want to ignore an error in the code. For example, if the printout is two verbose logs, so then the best practice is to make the error explicitly silenced. Also, in the face of the ambiguity, refuse the temptation to guess. So computers do whatever we want them to do. Still, those machines have made us superstitious. So there is always a reason why a computer code is not behaving properly. So some the syntax or even more tricky semantic errors could happen. So only your logic can fix it. So just to actually to remove the temptation to guess and blindly try the solutions until code works. Here there is some illustrative sample, dummy sample. So here you can see if we execute the code above, you will find an array of 5 balloon values in output. Therefore, the if statement, cannot determine, the state without any ambiguity. So the built-in functions array.all and array.any showing in the message are used instead of the and or here. So for example, we can say, for this kind of the array of 5 elements, if all the values are in the array, are smaller than 3, or like at least one value are smaller 3. So we can see it will be correctly printing out the result. At least one value in the array is smaller than 3. Okay, and this also shows the logic of the any and all for the array operation. So if we got all the like value is true, the all and any will always return true. If we got all the values is false, right? So the all and any function will return the false. And of course, if we got like a partial true element, okay, in the array, and the all will return false and any will return true. Okay, that is logic. Okay, so another motto of the Python is there should be one and probably only one obvious way to do it. So in per programming, there is a setting which says there are more than one way to do it. Okay, so using different sets of the code to do the same thing is just like having a double-edged, the sword. Not only it consumes time to write it, but every fellow must be able to read your 3 or 4 different versions of the methods, without any issues. So flexibility in this practice isn't worth celebration. So this is like the the statement. But however, also according to my own experience, I quite enjoy the figuring out the like multiple ways, the multiple options to solve the same problem. And of course, we can recommend one preferred way to going forward. Okay, so that is no conflict. So here, just like import this anti-gravity and you just execute, you can just like nicely print out some diagram to showing the the idea. Okay, and okay, so if you execute it, okay, you can see got this kind of web page to take a look. Okay, and let's move to the 14th motto. Although that way might not be obvious at first glance unless you are Dutch. So that is referred to Guido van Rossum, who is the Python creator. This motto says that the language rule of Python will not be easy to learn or recall unless and until you are the creator of the code, a joke referring to the BDFL. BDFL stands for the Benevolent Detector for Life. So this is some title given to the small bunch of the open source software developer leaders, typically project founders, who retain the final say in dispute and arguments within the community. Okay. So this is just some like very some joke. Okay. And also the 15 mottos of the Zen on Python is no is better than never. So this motto says that the code stuck in an infinitive loop or in a never-ending loop is worse than having code that doesn't. So this is some reference to it. And then 16, although never is often better than right now. So it is better to wait for a program to end than to actually terminate it, the abnormally and early. So and get incorrect result. This motto and the above one is actually the no is better than never, actually resemble each other and complement each other at the same time. Okay. So number 17 motto. So if the implementation is hard to explain, it's a bad idea. So if you are explaining, if you're trying to explain your code to someone and it is getting hard to explain it to your buddies or coworkers, then there is a good chance something is something wrong with your code, and it's definitely not simple and likely it's complicated. So okay. So however, in some cases the complexity of its domain knowledge may make the implementation difficult to explain and how to optimize to make it clear and understandable to the general public is crucial. So there is some project planning guidance that can help you here as well. So also another motto is if the implementation is easy to explain, it might be a good idea. So just opposite to above in the motto, this one simply says as a simple readable code is easy to explain, and then if you are able to do it, you are on the right track. Okay. So namespace are one honking great idea. Let's do more of this. So in Python, a namespace is basically a system to have a unique name for each and every object. So it's a great way to access, the every underlying object, and it is composed of the following elements: the built-in namespace, so which is reserved and default in the system of the Python. Also, you can define the global, the namespace, and also you have the local namespace. Okay. So the namespace system can, prevent like a conflicts between the Python module names. So look at this sample code. The ID function is a built-in Python function, and we can see the function accepts a single parameter and is used to return the identity of the object. Okay, so this identity has to be unique and consistent for this object during its life cycle. Okay, so the two objects, with non-overlapping lifetimes may have the same ID value. To look at this. Okay, so as we can see, the way the Python organized the variables under the hood is just unbelievable. So this is why namespaces are cool. Okay. So as a conclusion, the Python is amazing. Python is fun to use. This is why millions of the tens of millions of developers use it, code in it, analyze the data, doing data science, with it, and building the AI machine learning models using it. So the guidance, made it for it only motivates programmers and the developers to write the simple, readable, and clean codes. And the next time when you sit down for coding, just try to follow the rules, the good and the best practice knowing so far, and they will be like fun to try it. Okay, just a quick introduction to the Xen Python, and thank you. See you next time.